The guy went from running 70 miles a week to 20. And so to answer the question, do I think he could do this natural? Coach Greg, and in today's video, Nick Bare puts on 30 pounds, and did he in fact do it natural? And so in case you don't know, Nick Bare, he ran marathons, was running 70 miles a week. The guy, 6 foot tall, had weighed in formerly 184 pounds. That was his smallest, his dehydrated, drawn out, stringy self. And even at that weight, he did seem to have a lot of muscle. But remember, this is a guy who was formerly a jacked, stacked mountain of a man.
We are officially 30 pounds heavier over the last 5 months from now compared to when I ran my last marathon.
And so he's not lying. He's literally up 30 pounds. But remember, that was when he was at his most depleted. And listen, it's not clickbait. The guy literally is up 30 pounds, but that was when he was at his all-time smallest, his most depleted, not training as hard as he could, not focusing on muscle, but rather on being as small as he could to be a better runner. And if you compare his physique back then to now, you can clearly see it's not 30 pounds of muscle. If it was all muscle, I would have said, absolutely, this guy didn't do it natural. But look at him. You can clearly see he's gained some body fat, not a ton, but look at his transformation. You can clearly see it's not 100% muscle. He's not still carrying single-digit body fat. Not only that, his muscles are more voluminous, and so they're holding more water. You take supplements like creatine, Ecti Builder, and so on, you can in fact absorb and hold on to more water weight. And so although it's lean tissue, some people don't like to call it muscle. And so out of the 30 pounds that Nick Bare has gained, perhaps 15 of that was muscle and 15 pounds of that was fat and or water. And so could he have possibly put on 15 pounds of muscle in 5 months?
The intent is to cover the keys to a successful bulk. And those include 1, embrace the process, 2, eating in a caloric surplus, and 3, training with enough volume to facilitate progressive overload.
You don't need to do more volume when you can quite literally train more intensely. You don't need to add more sets and reps. You could actually do fewer sets and train a lot harder. And so there's several ways to progressive overload, and you don't need to just do more volume. But we'll get into that later. And so as you look at his physique, you can clearly see the guy has added a significant amount of body fat, at least 10 pounds. And no, I'm not calling him fat. The guy's still very, very lean, probably close to 15% body fat, looks absolutely healthy, but he's not single-digit body fat as he once was.
So since I started the build, I've had a lot of people ask me the question, is running harder now that you're heavier? I mean, it's a pretty easy answer. Yes.
Obviously, if it wasn't, why wouldn't he run always 214 pounds? The more weight you have to carry, 30 extra pounds, the harder it is to run. We all knew that. And people are asking, well, how could you possibly put on all this muscle while running? After all, running makes it much more difficult to put on muscle. And so how did he do it? I'll tell you how. By running less. He used to run 70 miles a week. He's now running 20 miles a week. And in case you're not good at math, 70 minus 20, that's 50 miles less of running.
Beautiful 5-mile run, 39 minutes, 3 seconds at a 7:48 minute per mile pace.
And so by decreasing his runs by 50 miles a week, he's burning off about 7,000 calories less. Not only that, he's not overtraining. He's relaxing. He's allowing his body to build more muscle. And so how do you build muscle and run at the same time? Well, you run a lot less than you used to. And consider this, he's running about 20 miles a week at about an 8-minute mile. That's 160 minutes of cardio a week. And how much cardio should you be doing? Well, 150 minutes of moderately intense cardio a week, that is what I recommend. So he's almost exactly doing what he should be. And so he's running less, resting more, and lifting weights. Of course the guy's gonna put on muscle. And so when you're bulking, as Nick points out, you have to be in a calorie surplus. But listen, you can't just say, what are your maintenance calories now? And then add 250 or 500 or whatever. Because in Nick's case, whatever his maintenance calories was right now, if he's stopping to run, he has to reduce the 1,000 calories a day that he was burning through running. And so let's say he was eating 3,000 calories a day to maintain his weight. He subtracts 1,000 calories he was doing from running. And so really his maintenance now after he stopped cardio is only 2,000. And so if he wants to then add 500, it's 2,000 plus 500. If he was at 3,000, added in the 500 calories, he'd be eating 3,500 calories a day. And guess what would happen? He would get fat. That'd be a 1,500 calorie surplus.
A lot of people, myself included, will overestimate how much they're
actually eating.
Most people, based on research, science, studies, do not overestimate how much you're eating. It's in fact the exact opposite. Most people think they're eating, say, 2,000 calories a day, but on average they're eating 30, maybe even 50% more than that. And so a lot of people say, oh, calories in, calories out didn't work. Why? Well, I ate 2,000 calories, and this app, it says I burn off 2,500, but yet I gained weight. But did you really eat 2,000? Might have been 3,000. And so Nick Bear, he's one of the exceptions. A certain few amount of people, they think they're eating a lot when they're not. And so for those people, he's saying, please track your calories and be accurate. Make sure that you're actually eating in a surplus. He also says it's so hard for people to eat in a surplus day after day, week after week, month after month. I don't get this. I don't really understand it. For perhaps 5% of the population out there, this is true. But for the most part, the vast majority of people, the problem is they struggle to eat in a deficit. Very easy to eat in a surplus. Eat as much as you want, whenever you want, whatever you want. Does that sound hard? Well, for most people, no. But if you're underweight, you have single-digit body fat, perhaps you're a marathon runner, it might be hard to eat enough calories. But for the rest of the world, you're already at 20+% body fat, you're perhaps a little bit overweight. It's not hard to overeat. You've been doing it your entire life now, haven't ya?
Now, we know that 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. So for example, if you want to gain 1 pound a week, you need to be eating in a surplus of 3,500 calories each week. Divide by 7, that is 500 calories a day.
And so he's not 100% right, but I know what he's getting at. To gain 1 pound of fat, you need a 3,500 calorie surplus. But to gain 1 pound of muscle, research studies have shown it takes approximately 2,700 calories. And so it takes less energy to gain 1 pound of muscle than it does to store 1 pound of fat. Muscle is to lift. Fat is designed to store energy. Muscle, it's not for storing of energy, it's to perform work. And so to gain 1 pound in a week, it's not really 3,500 calories that you need. It's actually less if you're trying to build muscle. And so do you understand that? 3,500 calories, 1 pound of fat, 2,700 calories in 1 pound of muscle. Comment below if you knew that. I'm betting you didn't.
And when we find our maintenance calories and we want to gain, say for example, a pound a week, we would have to consume in excess 500 extra calories a day on top of maintenance.
And another issue is if you calculate your maintenance, say it's 2,000 calories, and you eat 2,500 calories, you might think you're in a 500 calorie surplus, but you might not be. Perhaps you started going to the gym, you're lifting weights, and so you're burning off maybe 300 of those calories while lifting weights. And so that 2,000 calorie maintenance, now that you're doing some exercise and cardio, maybe it's at 2,300. So if you're eating 2,500, you might only actually be in a 200 calorie surplus. And so it's impossible to know exactly how much of a surplus you're in. All you can do is the best that you can do. My suggestion, look at yourself each week, weigh yourself, take the median weight each week, and see if it's trending upwards. If after 3 weeks you weigh the same, you're eating at maintenance. And if you think you're in a 500 calorie surplus and you haven't gained any weight for 3 weeks, well, you're not actually in a surplus now, are you? You're at maintenance. Your maintenance was 2,000, now it's 2,500. Because you're doing cardio, you're lifting weights, you're moving more. Perhaps your needs gone up. Perhaps the thermic effect of food has increased. But people, they have a very difficult time understanding that. They think it's so simple that you can just track your calories and bammo, you know if you're in a surplus or not. It's not that simple. And so my advice, really base it on the scale and how you look in the mirror. And my advice, try not to gain weight too quickly. Unless you have newbie gains, gaining more than a half a pound of muscle in a week, it's next to impossible. And so please try not to do that. You eat too much of a surplus, you gain too much fat, you look in the mirror, the scale's going up too quickly. Well, tone it down a little bit. Decrease your calories. So long as you're making some progress, that's all you need to do. It's not a race. Take your time when bulking, bulk responsibly.
Now the key to building lots of muscle is you don't want to burn too many calories, which is why we got the golf cart. This is the hybrid build golf cart. It is to mitigate the risk of burning too many calories by too many steps.
Cardio is important. Nick is running 20 miles a week. And so he's saying, conserve your energy. But this is from a guy who was running 70 miles a week when training for a marathon.
In this next segment of the video, we'll be talking about training volume and why training volume specifically is so important during a build to facilitate muscle growth and strength adaptations.
Not a fan of this. I personally don't think you need more volume. I think you can increase the weight, do the same amount of reps, not increase volume whatsoever. You may in fact want to decrease volume. Rather than doing set after set, junk volume and so on, why not train harder? Decrease the volume, increase the rest time, and train harder than last time. Train to failure and beyond. And so you don't just need to progressive overload volume. This week, 2 or 3 sets. Next week, 3, 4 sets. Next week after that, 5 sets. No, do the same amount of sets, but train harder.
Lots of volume, but the first thing we're gonna do is work up to a 3x3.
And I also disagree with this. 3 sets of 3. So we got a guy here who's a marathon runner using mostly slow twitch fibers, and now he's gonna be doing 3 sets of 3. Is this guy a powerlifter? I mean, can we not do a happy medium? Perhaps 10 to 15 reps. Doing sets of 3, it's not better. It's in fact more dangerous. You're more likely to get hurt and injured. And for a guy that's doing so much wear and tear on the joints, running very hard on the knees, hips, and so on, after all, I can't even run anymore. Surgeon said, Greg, you should not run. You can bike, but don't run. You've had hip surgery. And so I can't imagine it being a smart idea to doing such heavy lifting. 3 sets of 3 on the deadlift. That can't be good for the joints. And so my recommendation, if you are in fact a runner trying to build muscle and run at the same time, do higher rep sets. Don't do 3 sets of 3, but rather stick to the 10 to 15 repetition range.
Okay, so that was the last warm-up set. We're gonna go to 500 pounds now. 455 felt fairly easy.
Notice he says I did 455 for my warm-up. Felt really easy, so I don't know, 500 for 3. It might be too easy. I'll do 500, then maybe I'll do 520 after. Why not just do one hard set? Give it your all. Rather than 500 or 525, you've lifted 455, feels good. Let's do 425. 1 set, 525 pounds. Instead of doing 3 sets of 3, let's do 1 set of 5. Let's train harder, closer to failure.
I will be working with heavier weights, and I will be increasing the amount of total training volume with more sets and more reps. If you want to gain size, you want to gain strength, you need to be utilizing progressive overload in terms of total training volume.
And so no, you don't need to increase total training volume. You could quite literally just train harder. And so it's not a you must, it's a you can. You can choose to do more volume if you want. If you got hours and hours to spend in the gym, you could do 3 sets of 3, and later on in months down the road, you could do 10 sets of 3 with the same weight. Or you could do that one really hard set with more weight and do it in the 10 to 15 rep range. It's totally up to you. I prefer it this way. He prefers it that way. We've both had successful careers. Both of us have muscle. We're both good at cardio. And so take your pick. Do what makes you happy. And so what I really like is his set following this, which is his AMRAP, as many reps as possible. Here he puts on 4 plates and does 14 reps. And so which do you think caused more muscle growth? The 3 sets of 3, not to failure, not that hard, or this 1 set of 14? Which do you think was harder? Which do you think was more challenging, more fun? For me personally, when I lift weights, I like to have the challenge. I don't want to start with 3 IR, 5 IR. Oh, I better not train too hard. I need to save it. I don't want to feel tired. And so in Nick's case, he's trying to bulk. The guy just came off of a marathon. But for most of you watching right now, 95% of you, you don't need to bulk. And so what can you do instead? You can get my friggin' cookbook. It's not gonna help you bulk. It's gonna help you to lose weight, to be consistent. And if you are in a bulk, probably gonna have to cut later. And so why not get the book now? Have it ready.
So I hope these tips helped you during your build and your bulk to put on size and strength while still running.
And so to answer the question, do I think he could do this natural? I 100% think he did it natural. The guy went from running 70 miles a week to 20. And so although he's still running, consider how much easier that is on his body than running 70 miles. In comparison, if he was running 20 miles and decided to run 70, there's no way he'd put on 30 pounds. Whether it be muscle and or fat, it'd be very difficult to add 30 pounds of fat while running 70 miles a week. Try it, I dare you. Try running 70 miles a week and gaining 30 pounds of fat. You'd have to eat all the time, you'd hate it. It'd be very difficult. And so when you're running as much as Nick is, you're naturally gonna lose weight. You probably eat anything and everything you want. It just naturally, the weight's gonna come off. And so considering the guy used to have a ton of muscle, that he had muscle memory, that he reduced his running by 50 miles. And as you can clearly see, the guy's training harder than last time. Did you not see that AMRAP set of 405 for 14? Guy's training like an animal. And so you train like this, eat 5 meals a day, get plenty of sleep, you take natural supplements. If you're looking for natural supplements, consider harder than last time supplements such as Acti Builder. It has various acti steroids that have been shown in research, not just in rats, research with humans, to build muscle. You want to read the studies? We'll send them to you. I've sent other YouTubers these studies. They choose not to read it. Or perhaps they just don't want to make the videos because they'll know, oh, it's actually correct. It's actually going to work. And so I've been consistently using this for months. I've also added muscle and gotten stronger, leaner. And I'm faster on the bike. And so despite the fact that I started bike racing, I've actually added more muscle. And so it's working for me, it can work for you. Not only that, if you're getting too lean, have low body fat levels, you might be suffering from low testosterone. If you are, consider getting 3-test or G-test to boost your natural testosterone production. And Nick Bear, this is especially for you. This is the one you want, Nick. Write me in, we'll send you some for free to try. Perhaps your own supplement company can start making these. You have no idea what you're missing out. For a guy running marathons under 3 hours, how are you not using GO2 Max? 100% natural. That's right, 100% natural. It's kind of like GW501516. Discuss this in a video. Improves cardiovascular endurance immensely, not a little bit, very noticeable. This is a must if you're a runner and trying to lift weights at the same time. You're like Coach Greg racing bikes, lifting weights. This is a supplement for you. You recover faster, you can train harder than last time, you burn more calories, burn more fat. What more do you want? This is a supplement for anyone out there, anyone in the world, if their goal is to improve cardio. Go and follow Nick Bear, give him a shout out for running harder than last time, lifting weights, promoting the good word. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm, watch one of the 2 bloops, follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette IP Pro, and until next time, I am out.